Welcome to a new deep dive. Today we're tackling one of those intriguing questions that pops up pretty much everywhere.
Yep.
From just casual curiosity to actual online searches. How many calories do you really burn during sex? Forget the wild claims you might have heard. We're here to unpack this with actual science. We've got a stack of fascinating sources, some really groundbreaking peer-reviewed studies, controlled experiments, the works. We want to bring you the definitive answers.
Yeah, and what's truly compelling here, I think, is how the research itself has evolved. It's quite a journey. We'll explore where the scientific inquiry even began, the surprising limitations of those early attempts, and then the breakthroughs that allowed modern science to measure energy expenditure during intimacy, much more accurately.
So what does this all actually mean for you listening? Well, prepare to see how sexual activity stacks up against, say, a jog or a walk or maybe a swim. We're going to reveal some honestly pretty unexpected differences in calorie burn between men and women, and even share some practical science-backed tips for maximizing the physical benefits of intimacy, but always keeping the main goal, connection, front and center. Okay, so to really get into this, we need to go back to where the science started. And you might be surprised by how early researchers tried to quantify something so intimate and, well, just how flawed those initial attempts kind of were.
Oh, it's quite the visual, isn't it? I mean, imagine trying to measure human intimacy in this really sterile lab setting. You've got participants hooked up to just a tangle of electrodes, cables, masks, even heart rate cuffs.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty safe to say those environments were not exactly conducive to natural behavior. And the data they gathered was, well, frankly, probably unrepresentative of real-world energy expenditure.
Right. You can only imagine how artificial that must have felt.
Sure.
Trying to get natural data in that kind of setup seems almost impossible. So what was the breakthrough then? What finally allowed researchers to get, real data?
Okay, that's where the University of Quebec at Montreal researchers really made a major leap. They basically revolutionized the whole process. They used these unobtrusive, portable mini SenseWear armbands, little things worn on the arm. And this allowed participants to be monitored, crucially, in the comfort and privacy of their own homes, which naturally led to much more authentic results.
Right, getting out of the lab. And what did that reveal about energy expenditure, the real numbers?
So their pivotal study involved 21 heterosexual couples, all in their early 20s, healthy young adults. And the core finding was that energy expenditure during sexual activity is approximately 85 kilocalories, or kcal, which breaks down to about 3.60 kilocal per minute. And this was performed at what they classed as a moderate intensity, about 5.8 METs for both the men and women in the study.
Okay, METs. Now, for anyone unfamiliar, METs, or metabolic equivalents, they're just a simple, standardized way to measure the energy cost of physical activities, right?
Exactly.
So think of one MET as the energy you burn just sitting quietly. So 5.8 METs. That puts this activity firmly in the zone of meaningful, moderate exercise, like comparable to a brisk walk or maybe even a light jog, but, right there in your living room or bedroom.
Indeed. It really clarifies that this isn't just some negligible amount of effort we're talking about. It's real activity.
So with this new, more realistic data, did the Quebec study uncover any particularly surprising insights, especially when comparing calorie burn between men and women?
Ah, yes. This is truly one of the most unexpected findings, I think. On average, men burned about 100 calories per session,
Okay.
but women burned only 69 calories.
Wow, 69 versus 100. That's a pretty big difference, like 45%.
Exactly, a significant 45% difference.
Okay, so a 45% difference, that's not just a small thing.
Yeah.
It kind of shifts how we understand energy use in a partner activity. What did the researchers figure was behind that gap?
Well, several factors probably contribute. Men generally have higher body weight and greater muscle mass, which naturally leads to higher calorie expenditure during any physical activity. But the researchers also pointed to likely differences in physical exertion and movement patterns during the act itself. It seems men's heart rates and intensity levels were consistently higher throughout the activity. They were often reaching 6 METs.
6 METs. That's higher than the average 5.8 you mentioned.
Right, and it's a notably higher than the 3 to 4 METs reported in those older, less realistic lab studies. So it suggests two things. One, the Quebec research captured more natural and probably more vigorous behavior. And two, this difference isn't purely down to physiology like weight. It also reflects potentially varied active engagement during the session.
Okay, that makes sense. So with these real numbers, how does this activity truly stack up against what we think of as, traditional exercise? Going to the gym, going for a run.
Right. To answer that very question, the Quebec researchers did something clever. They had the very same couples jog on treadmills. at about 65% of their maximum heart rates for 30 minutes. And they wore the same armband monitors, so it allowed for a direct kind of apples-to-apples comparison.
Okay, direct comparison. And the verdict. How did sex compare to the treadmill?
Well, the finding was that sexual activity burns energy at about the same intensity as a light jog, or maybe a leisurely swim, definitely not doing laps, more like splashing about, or even stationary rowing at a moderate pace. So this firmly classifies it as moderate exercise.
Moderate exercise. And how long do these sessions typically last in the study?
The average session duration was about 25 minutes, and that included foreplay. Now, if you look at just the most, let's say, physiologically intense portions, you're probably talking about 10 to 15 minutes of sustained moderate exercise within that 25 minutes.
Okay, 10, 15 minutes of moderate work.
Yeah. And while it's comparable in intensity to those other activities, it also offers some truly unique benefits, things you won't necessarily find in a traditional workout.
That's a crucial point, isn't it? If it's comparable to moderate exercise but offers something more, what exactly are those unique benefits, the ones that go beyond just the calorie count? What makes them special?
Well, one of the most intriguing aspects is how sexual activity engages muscles often overlooked by standard cardio. Think about it. It works your core, your pelvic floor muscles, really important ones, your glutes. And depending on the positions you use, various other muscle groups too, it's genuinely a form of functional fitness.
Functional fitness, meaning?
Meaning it trains your body for real-life movements and daily activities, not just, isolated gym exercises like a bicep curl. And beyond the muscles, your heart rate elevates, obviously. That increases blood flow throughout your entire body, providing significant cardiovascular benefits.
Okay, so physical benefits. What about the psychological side? The impact on mood, on the mind, that seems huge too.
Oh, absolutely. The psychological benefits are profound. That endorphin release you get, it can be incredibly powerful, leading to significant stress reduction, mood elevation, and often improved sleep quality afterwards.
Better sleep is always good.
Definitely. And then physiologically, you've also got the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, a reduction in cortisol levels, that's the stress hormone, and potentially, some research suggests, even an improvement in immune function.
Wow, okay. So a lot going on there.
A lot. But it's really important to clarify here, while it's a wonderful activity with all these benefits, it's best seen as a fantastic supplement to a regular fitness routine. It's not really a replacement for the gym or structured exercise.
Right, supplement, not substitute. That's key. So if it is a form of exercise, naturally people will wonder, are there ways to maximize these sexercise benefits, as some people call it? Can we apply a scientific lens to getting more out of it physically?
We absolutely can. I mean, think about it like any other physical activity you do. Duration matters, right? Longer sessions naturally burn more calories. Simple math. Intensity also plays a huge role. Being more active, varying positions more frequently, maintaining those elevated heart rates, that will certainly increase your calorie burn and the cardiovascular benefit.
Okay, intensity and duration. Does the research offer any specific guidance on, say, certain positions being better for higher calorie burn?
Well, the Quebec study didn't specifically break down calorie burn by position. That would be pretty complex to track accurately at home. But we can definitely apply general exercise physiology principles, positions that require more muscle engagement, more balance, more movement. Think, for instance, standing positions, or those that really actively engage your core and legs. They will naturally demand more energy.
That makes intuitive sense. More work equals more calories.
Exactly. And also don't underestimate the preparation and recovery phases. Extended foreplay actually increases the overall duration of the activity and therefore the total calorie burn and the recovery period afterwards. It can be kind of akin to active rest after a workout where your body is still working a bit harder than baseline.
Interesting point about foreplay adding to the total.
Yeah. And just like other forms of exercise, remember the basics. Stay hydrated, be present and engaged in the moment, and maybe value the quality of the experience over just, the quantity of minutes or calories.
Quality over quantity. Good advice for life, really.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's tackle some of those widely inflated claims we mentioned earlier. You've probably seen numbers floating around online, maybe in magazines, sex burning 300 or 400 calories a session. What does our deep dive reveal about those kinds of wild claims?
Yeah, those numbers are wildly, wildly inflated. Let's be clear on that. There was a comprehensive review looking back over like 60 years of studies on this. It found that sex could potentially burn up to 160 calories, but that would be at the absolute extreme higher end. We're talking longer, very intense sessions.
So 160 is maybe possible, but not typical.
Not typical at all. Most realistic estimates, based on studies like the Quebec one, put it firmly in the range of 60 to 100 calories for an average session.
Okay, 60 to 100, let's put that in perspective.
Mhm.
What's that equivalent to in normal exercise?
That's about the same as maybe a 15-minute walk, or perhaps 10 minutes of light jogging.
Okay, so helpful, but not earth-shattering calorie burn.
Exactly.
And what about the myth that it's equivalent to running a marathon? That one really seems to capture people's imagination.
Oh, definitely not. Not even close. I mean, a marathon burns anywhere from, what, 2,500 to 4,000 calories, depending on the person and the pace. You'd realistically need to engage in sexual activity for about 40 to 60 hours straight to match that kind of energy expenditure,
40 to 60 hours.
Oh.
Yeah.
which is neither realistic nor probably advisable, and frankly sounds more like a chore than intimacy after maybe the first hour or so.
Yeah, point taken.
You know, researchers first posed this question about intensity way back in 1984, and they concluded even then that sex equated to light to moderate exercise. The newer, more accurate research from Quebec just solidly confirms this range. So, bottom line, it's a beneficial supplement, absolutely, but it's not a replacement for regular cardiovascular exercise and strength training.
Got it. Now, something fascinating here is that intimacy, for many people, is inherently a partner activity. So how did those unique partner dynamics factor into this whole idea of sex as exercise?
That's a really interesting angle. When you engage in physical activity with a partner, you often gain things like motivation, maybe some accountability, shared goals, much like how couples might work out together at the gym, right?
Yeah, the buddy system effect.
Exactly. And there's also something to be said for the synchronized movement and the shared physical exertion itself. It can create a unique bonding experience through that shared effort.
Plus, there's that crucial element of communication that you need in any partner activity, physical or otherwise.
Precisely. You're kind of constantly checking in, maybe adjusting intensity, responding to feedback, almost like having a built-in personal trainer who is immediately responsive to your needs and feelings.
A very attentive personal trainer.
Right. And the motivation factor is huge, too. You're probably less likely to just quit halfway through when a partner is involved and engaged. It really becomes a team effort where both individuals are contributing to these shared benefits, both physical and emotional.
That makes sense.
And maybe just worth noting quickly, for those who aren't in relationships, engaging in solo activities still provides significant benefits. You still get cardiovascular effects, muscle engagement, stress relief, those endorphins, though the calorie burn might naturally be a bit lower without the partner dynamic.
Okay, good point. So if we connect all this back to the bigger picture, where does intimacy truly fit into an overall holistic fitness plan? It sounds like it's much more than just a quick calorie burn.
Absolutely. The key word is integration, not substitution. Regular intimate experiences, say a few times a week, can actually add a considerable chunk of moderate physical activity to your week. Maybe 2 to 4 hours, depending on frequency and duration. That's not insignificant by any measure.
2 to 4 hours of moderate activity.
Okay.
Yeah, that adds up.
It does. And beyond just the activity itself, think about the downstream effects, the stress relief, the better sleep, the improved mood that often come with intimacy. All of those things directly support your other fitness goals, whether that's having the energy for consistent gym attendance or making healthier eating choices because you feel better overall.
So it's almost like a form of active recovery in some ways. Is that fair to say?
In many ways, yes. I think that's a great way to put it. It's physical activity, but it doesn't typically strain your muscles in the same way as heavy lifting or, intense interval training. But it still keeps you moving, provides those cardiovascular benefits. It's active, and it's recovery supporting.
Okay.
And the timing can also be incredibly flexible, right? Unlike scheduling a gym session, it can fit in whenever suits your energy levels and preferences. And finally, for those focused on weight management, every little bit of movement counts towards your total daily energy expenditure. The calories burned during intimacy certainly contribute to that overall equation.
This has been a really, really enlightening deep dive. So much to think about. So what are the practical takeaways then? The kind of real talk everyone needs to hear about integrating this knowledge into their lives.
Okay, first and probably most importantly, do not put pressure on yourself or your partner to turn intimacy into a workout. Just don't. The moment you start obsessing over calorie burn or treating it like some kind of fitness obligation you have to check off, you've completely missed the point. And you actually risk damaging the connection, which is the primary purpose.
Right. It sounds like it's much more about awareness and optimization,
Yeah.
isn't it? The primary goal should always be connection, pleasure, intimacy. The fitness benefits are just a really nice bonus.
Absolutely, 100%. Now, if knowing that intimacy has these genuine fitness benefits motivates you to perhaps prioritize it more in your relationship, that can be a win-win, but only as long as both partners are genuinely on board with that mindset and it feels natural and positive, not forced.
Okay, so how can people maybe maximize the health benefits without ruining the romance? Any tips there?
Yeah, I think it comes down to mindset again. Simply stay present and engaged in the experience rather than, clock watching or thinking about METs. Varying activities and positions naturally as part of enjoyment will inherently provide more varied muscle engagement and potentially higher intensity. And remember that longer sessions, which usually happen when you're both relaxed and enjoying yourselves, naturally provide more benefits anyway.
So let enjoyment lead the way, basically.
Pretty much. And as for tracking with fitness devices and smartwatches and stuff, that's really a personal choice. If you find the data interesting afterwards and it doesn't interfere with the actual experience, fine. But if it's distracting or creates pressure during intimacy, just skip it. It's not worth it. So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe let's recap the key takeaways you should remember. First, sexual activity is legitimate moderate exercise, typically burning somewhere in that 60 to 100 calorie range per session. And remember that men generally burn about 30% more than women, likely due to a combination of physiology and perhaps differences in active engagement.
Okay, takeaway one. Moderate exercise, 60, 100 calories with a gender difference. Got it. Second, while it's definitely a beneficial physical activity, its intensity is comparable to light to moderate exercise. Think walking, leisurely swimming, that kind of thing. So view it as a wonderful, enjoyable addition to your fitness routine, but definitely not a substitute for structured exercise like running or lifting weights.
Well said. Supplement, not substitute. And third, the health benefits extend far, far beyond just the calorie burn. That's almost secondary, really. You're also gaining cardiovascular exercise, significant stress relief, potentially better sleep, and an enhanced mood, all wrapped up in one enjoyable, connecting activity.
Ultimately, I think the most important thing is just don't overthink it.
Right.
Intimacy should always be about connection and pleasure first and foremost. The fitness benefits are simply a wonderful science-backed bonus. So listen to your body, communicate with your partner, and maybe just enjoy the fact that something so deeply human and pleasurable is also genuinely good for you.